Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. This is Natalie Cutler-Welsh welcoming you back to another episode of the Up Your Brave live stream. So this is where I bring three amazing guests in to share their thoughts, their insights, their tips on a crucial topic. And collectively, what we're aiming to do is to raise the state, really, of resilience, health, and happiness around the world. And I'm excited today because today we have an international panel. Let me bring my guests in to meet you. Yay. So very exciting. So we've got Cath Vincent all the way from down the road here in Auckland. Cath is a speaker and an author. Hi, Cath.
Hi, lovely to be here.
And we've got all the way from Canada, a longtime friend of mine, Julian Smith, who is a master of marketing. So good to have you here.
Hello, thanks for having me.
And then, of course, we have Nat T, the other Nat. It's so excited to have you here, Nat. I know that you just birthed a baby, a book.
Yeah, I was going to say that. What? No, yes, a book baby.
A book baby. So good to have you guys here. So everybody, today our topic is going to be pivoting your life or business or job or relationship to create your new normal. So as you know, we're in interesting times. Actually, at the time of filming this, we in New Zealand have just come out of lockdown as such. We're into level 2. But whenever you're watching this, whether you're watching live or watching the replay, I feel it's always actually a good time to reconnect with what you actually want and to be the CEO of your own life and to pivot to where you want to go. So we're diving into that topic today. So I'm going to start off with Cath, as usual. I'll read a little bit of backstory and then I'll let you elaborate and share your first tip with us. So speaker, author, and all-round go-getter, Cath Vincent has been a business consultant for over 20 years, working with multi-million-dollar companies, launching businesses in the UK and Australia, and then deciding to help others wake up their wow, which is her keynote topic. And wow, does she ever do it well? She immigrated to New Zealand and launched her career as a motivational speaker, and quickly became recognized by the National Speakers Association, now called the Professional Speakers Association. Cath has worked with clients such as ANZ, KPMG, Texas State University, and Chevron Australia. She's done a TEDx talk, and I'm so happy to have you here, Cath. And she also has the Cath Vincent TV show. Great to have you here, Cath.
Awesome to be here, Nat. Thanks for putting this together. So,
all right, well, you could, tell us a bit more and then dive into your first tip.
Well, hey, in all of that sounds like a really busy sort of person, and I really love to be busy. So when lockdown came, it was kind of confronting, and things slowed down, and I quite liked it. Now, I know for a lot of people, lockdown was kind of like, if you've got young kids, it's, really stressful and all of that. But for me, it was a real time to take stock and think about what to do next. And really my advice for people in this really odd phase coming out of lockdown and into the new normal is to not rush back. Little bit controversial. I know I can feel the energy everywhere. People are like, how soon can I have my normal life back? And I'm resisting that for myself because in the kind of lull, there is a real opportunity to create some really big change in your life. Notice that if you do have this pull of how soon can I get my normal life back, what there is there is a tension between how things are and how they used to be. And there's and that forces a kind of comparison. Now, in the professional development field, we're always saying, don't compare yourself to other people. Don't look at people on Facebook and go, oh, why are they so successful? Or why are they always on holiday? And comparing yourself to another person is a surefire way of really just not being happy. And it's the same with comparing yourself to how you used to be. So I'm really urging people to just take a blank sheet of paper and create their life from scratch now, rather than desperately trying to get back to something which has you in a state of tension rather than a state of possibility.
Love that. That is such wise advice. I think it's human nature to want to get back to how things were, but now it's we actually can create what we want.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful. All right. So for those of you watching, I see that we've got Susan Somerville and Sarah Valentine watching us today. Susan actually is going to be a guest on an upcoming episode. We're going to be looking at the topic of building resilience, which will be amazing. If you missed the show on Tuesday this week, we actually did mindfulness and self-love. And so I will definitely put the show notes and the replay up for you guys if you missed that. I feel like these things go hand in hand. Like, Cath, you were pointing out, be conscious and with intention plan your life. And part of that is being mindful, I think, of what actually was working for you before and what actually wasn't serving you either. So interesting.
And
all right, we're going to go. Oh, so carry on.
Oh, I was just thinking, we're all in a state of change anyway. So now is the perfect time to change your life. It's already changing. So you may as well do it with volition.
Indeed. Oh, I love that word. Love it. All right, let's go to Julian. So Julian and I were campers. We were campers together at Camp Tawingo, which is in Huntsville, Ontario. And it's funny, whenever I come across a fellow Canadian here in New Zealand, I always say to them, I'm from Toronto and I went to Branksome Hall and I went to Camp Tawingo. Like we always include our camp. It's like part of who we are. It's part of our identity. So yeah, many amazing memories were made at Camp Tawingo. All right. So Julian is a longtime friend of mine from Canada. He brings a wealth of experience over 20 years in the field of marketing, digital media production, and he's an expert in digital marketing, social advertising, multimedia production, content marketing, and SEO. Since 2018, he's had a YouTube channel called BIYF. I can't wait for you to tell us what that means. I think Nat T in particular will think it's really funny, which in the first season alone attracted 3.7 thousand subscribers and 180,000 video views. Julian is an international keynote speaker from Canada all the way to Jamaica. He's a winner of a W0 2019 award and over a dozen other awards, working with blue chip organizations such as Johns Hopkins, Allstate, and Manulife Financial. Welcome from Canada, Julian Smith. So good to have you here.
So great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
So if you want to elaborate on a little bit of background, or at least where you stand in terms of the whole pivoting, life and business, and then share your first tip.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll just dive right into the tip, which is really, I think this is a great opportunity for people to hone in, cherish the things that are most important to them, really determine, what gives your life meaning. Be acutely aware of what is important to you. If you are aware of it, then really maybe focus on, okay, well, how do I ensure that I start to live my life accordingly? Something that I've often said, and this is a bit of a sort of a tough love statement, but right now, especially in times like this, I think people think, oh my gosh, we're living, this is so hard, this is so terrible. But really, if you take a step back and you look at the broad history of humanity going back thousands and thousands of years, the reality is that what we, you and I and what most of us have lived in the developed world is really an aberration. The normal human experience over the long course of time is in fact death, disease, famine, and war. I know that's a bit of a harsh statement, but that's the reality. And so, I think it's very important, again, as I said, to really hone in on really how good we have it, how much things have improved, how incredible it is, for example, that despite this, here we are having this incredible conversation. We can not only talk to each other, we can see each other from around the world. And Nat, I mean, you remember when we were kids, this would have cost how much in long distance fees just to have a conversation? So, I think it's very important to hone in on what is important to you, what gives your life meaning, and pursue that.
It's funny when you talk about the death, disease, and all the things. Ruby, my 13-year-old, comes home from school yesterday and she's like, Mommy, we learned about how it was 100 years ago. And I was like, I don't think Mommy would have done very well, because I'm very into like gender equality and women empowerment. And yeah, it's interesting. So we are in, I think, trying times compared to what we've known. But comparatively, maybe not. It's an interesting topic. So good to see you. It was Kendra coming back to watch us. Let us know, you guys, geographically where you're watching from if you're watching the replay. And as always, I do take notes. I take a few notes here, but I do have someone that helps me to listen back and to make the show notes. So we'll be sure to capture all the gold today. Let's go to Nat T. So exciting to have you here, Nat. I'm going to read your little intro, and then we'll jump in. So Natalie Tall, affectionately known as Nat T, is a speaker, author, and coach who helps five-figure businesses double their revenue through confidence and action. Yes. She works with personal brands to help them drive their business with imperfect action and increase their sales. Nat says it's not perfection that will bring you the success you want. It's the belief and the action. I love it. She does this work because deep down she believes women are falling victim to social media highlight reels and trying to battle it alone. Welcome, Nat.
Hi, Nat. Nat CW, that you're affectionately known to for me. Great to have, great to be here. Great to see everyone online today. And you'll notice behind me, it's like doing the weather, you've got to do it backwards. Perfect is a piece of artwork that sits behind me that I did, and it's a mantra that I now live with. And the pandemic that rolled through and is rolling through the world really, I think, shook up a lot of where people were trying to be perfect before COVID. When this happens, I will. When I have this set up, I will. And what I got to see with my tribe of women is so many of them are natural givers, that their giving nature allowed them to come out and begin projects that they had on the back burner because they weren't ready yet, or it wasn't perfect yet. And so I've got to see a lot of positive results for people come out of this pandemic because they've leaned into, actually, there's never a perfect time. It's so imperfect right now. No one's got time to judge. I'm just going to go for it. So that's my tip for you straight off the bat is, where are you just holding on to something because it's not perfect yet? Because it's so imperfect at the moment. That I'd love you to really ask yourself that question, what can I do right now instead of waiting? And I think it's a perfect time to take that imperfect action.
So that's so accurate. Love that. Awesome. I think, the other thing I find with a lot of people is I talk a lot about the different zones that people tend to fall into in life. Some people are in the disconnected zone, and some people live in the should zone. I should do this, I should do that. And some people in the frustration zone. But what I want to encourage people to do is to get to the impact zone. I call it the impact zone. And I think the key is really coming back to your intention of what is it that you want to do in your life. So back in 2005, I found this amazing book that I read during my job. I was actually paid to read books as personal development, which if there are any bosses out there, it's a brilliant thing to do, is to pay your people to do personal development books. And this book was called The Big Five for Life. And I have used this so many times, countless times, with my clients and just rambling on about it to anyone who will listen. And the whole thing of it is coming back to, what are the 5 things that you want to do, be, and experience in your lifetime? So when you go to Africa, apparently you want to see the big 5, like the rhino and the buffalo and the elephant. That's what it comes from. And I feel like now in life, it's such a good time. Like Julian, you were saying, coming back to what brings you joy. And it's like, what are the 5 things that you want to do, be, and experience in your lifetime? And when you know those 5 things, then it can guide you, I think, to create. Now we're really creating the life that we want, hopefully. Some people will have more challenge than others. Some people will have staff, and some people will have restaurants and things like that. It's different for everybody. But I think it's important for everybody, while we have this pause and we can reflect, to come back to, what is it that I actually want to do? What are the 5 things? And then steering your life towards one of those 5 things. That's a technique that I use also to make decisions. If you come to a standstill or an opportunity in your life, you go, hang on a second. Let me just check in. Just saying yes to that opportunity head me towards one of my big 5s. If it's a yes, it's a yes. And if it's a no, it's a no. It becomes really simple. So that's my little tip for really creating your new normal. Let's go into round number 2. And remember, you guys can jump in if you want to add something on. So Cath, if you can share your second insight with us.
Yeah, just knitting together what the 2 Nats said about being imperfect and actually committing to something you really want to do. So one of the things that I invite people to do is to create a new job description. And it's particularly useful for people who kind of don't really have a job. They're entrepreneurial in spirit, maybe they're doing a lot of things, or they're stuck at home working on things and maybe getting a bit distracted. And certainly coming out of the wake of lockdown, there might be a bit of a lack of clarity about, like, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? And if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, you end the day thinking imperfect is bad. Like, oh, I've done nothing today. I'm a bad person. There's that kind of undercurrent when we're not, productive enough. So by creating a job description, which has a title, maybe a quirky little title that really speaks to it, and has 3 key performance indicators. So if you're working in a corporate environment, you probably have a job description, and they tell you, at least 3 things that you're supposed to measure up on. And by putting this in place, you can kind of go, actually, this is what my job is right now. So I'll share with you, Nat knows this. Years ago, my husband and I took on this, huge development, and we lived in it while we were converting it. And it was just horrific, right? We're living in, it took 3 years, right? 3 years of not knowing where your clothes are and moving everything around. And I just thought, you know what, I need a new job title, because trying to do this, all the things I'm trying to do in these circumstances is really hard. And I realized that probably a third of my time had to be awesome, at home for everyone. Food, meals, like housewifey stuff that I'm not very good at. And I just decided I need to be excellent at that now. And I felt a tremendous relief when I realized, here's what I should be doing, and I can measure it, and I can just show up and do it, and maybe it'll be good, and maybe it'll be imperfect today, but at least I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and then I, start again the next day. So I think just having some guidelines about how you really want to spend your time makes your time much more productive.
Love that. Any comment from you, Nat or Julian, on that?
I'd like to jump in on that and just add in to what Cath said. And I love this saying, you are not your results. So if you haven't done well in sales for your business, or you didn't get the promotion, or you don't know how to pivot, and maybe your new normal is just normal, that doesn't make you fundamentally a bad person. So if you're not having the results you want, that doesn't mean about you and your fundamental purpose. I think it's just nice to remind people that you're not a bad person if you have bad results.
Yeah, totally. And I notice this in myself a lot, that I go, have I done this? And I might have a to-do list with 10 things, and a normal human might be able to do 4. I've done 9, but damn it, what is wrong with me? I missed one. Oh, I'm such a bad person, and now I have to work twice as hard tomorrow. So I think we all have that a little bit unconsciously driving us. And I tell you what, I've totally given in now. I'm like, I'm not going to be driven by my to-do list ever again,
I'm really loving the sort of synergy that, in terms of the messaging, that clear. Everybody is very much on the same page. And it's very funny, as you mentioned, Nat, that I work in social media, and sometimes there's an assumption that I love social media, but in reality, actually, I often speak out against it for exactly the things that I think Natalie was talking about earlier, about that perfectly curated self that people presented, that really created this culture of narcissism online. And I think, hopefully, I think people have grown tired of it. People are recognizing it. You see this. You see now in marketing and advertising now, there's this push away from that perfectly made, polished ad. And there is what I call this economy of authenticity. I know authenticity now is this bit of a buzzword that people toss around, and it does bother me when I hear people sort of talk about it as if it's a commodity. It's not. You can't fake it. But really, what both Nats are saying, it's really a time for you do you, boo-boo. And nobody, the thing is in fact, when you present that perfect image, people see through that, and so it's important. In fact, the more you actually talk about your struggles, things that you've gone through, it actually endears you to people a lot more. And so I think the other thing too, we see a rise around the world in depression and so forth, and I blame exactly that thing. Is that especially when you think about young people who look on their feeds, and of course everybody only shows their smiling, happy pictures. They know, in their beautiful picture of their lasagna, and when they're on vacation, and it looks like everybody's life is perfect, but it's not. And so I think it is such a great opportunity to identify who you are, what is important to you, what those values are, what those flaws are. You asked, you mentioned off the top what the name of BIYF. It stands for Balls in Your Face Marketing. And how did that come out?
Balls in your face.
Balls in Your Face Marketing. And it originated as, it was really just a slip of the tongue in a video that I had with some other people. People got a kick out of it. And I realized at one point, I recognized this economy of authenticity, and I realized, well, that's me. I have a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. I'm going to go for it. And the funny thing is that, I expected, and I was worried about the pushback. And it turns out, no, I can't buy a troll. Nobody who's ended up being offended by it. Everybody seems to get a laugh. I think there are some people who are, but you're not going to please everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just picking up what Julian said about, authenticity, and I love how you define, hey, not a commodity, because you're right, it's very kind of overused. But now I was going to congratulate you on a mail you sent, and I didn't speak to you since, but so before and after photo, here's me without my makeup, here's me 8 minutes later, and I just love that,
8 minutes later.
Oh, sorry. Wow. So, it's that kind of, here I am, take it or leave it, and it's just liberating, I think.
Yeah. And I think you're right. All of you guys are so right. I did this story earlier this week. It was called You Are the CEO of Your Own Pie. And it was literally a story about taking my son to the bakery. But the message, of course, is you are the CEO of your own life. So for those people watching, I want to ask you, or we want to ask you, what does the new normal look like to you? Like, what are you going to actually let go of? Like, for some people, they'll be like, oh my God, I don't have to be perfect. Like, you know what? I'm going to just show up the real me. I'm going to say the tongue-in-cheek things that I normally say in my head, but wouldn't dare say out loud. It's like, no, they make you do it. So I think it's really a good time. Go ahead and comment if you want. What does your new normal look like to you? We've talked a lot about personality and stuff, but also we're thinking about your job. Like, my husband went to work on Monday, and he came home. I'm like, how was it? He was like, meh, he's like, I don't think I'm going to go back 5 days a week, like, to the office. I'm like, yeah, like, why would you? He's like, why would I? So I think a lot of people are going to revisit, like, what they normally do. Like, it's normal to drive 40 minutes and then sit in an office and then drive 40 minutes home. Like, really? I think people are going to really start to, recreate their own life the way they want it, which I think is pretty exciting. Hey, Julian, I don't know if you got your second tip in or if that was it. So you got it. Was that your
what I will say is again, I think in line with a lot of what we're saying, which is curb your frivolous wants. I mean, if you haven't been doing that now in this, right? This is the thing, right? People are so used now to, we're used to, hey, I can go and buy whatever I want and consume it and dispose of it. And all of a sudden it's like, well, do I really need to go out for that? And what's really interesting too is the, it's incredible, the sort of reduction in air pollution. The air quality's gone up just by this little shutdown. And I imagine hopefully people are going to start saying, well, do I really need to drive 2 blocks for that and drive everywhere I go? Mm-hmm. No. So that's my tip number 2.
I think that's so true. It's interesting how our new normal changes. I used to bike when I lived in Christchurch before kids to a meeting. It took me 45 minutes on my bike to get to this meeting out at Foodstuffs. And I would be wearing my whatever worky outfit, and I would just bike because that's just what I did. Like, I didn't think about it. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, like, I used to bike. Like, that's either really awesome or crazy, but it's like our new normal changes. And I think you're right. I think it's like we really are going to start thinking about, do I really need to drive like that far? And can I do it from home? Nat, I'll go to you for your tip number 2.
Yeah, so tip number 2 is really cool. And what I got to see, this is particular for people in business, is you know what? No one has actually been through such a pandemic before, right? So that makes you your own expert in your business. Because often what we do is we externally go to other people, what should I do? Where I'm like, they don't freaking know either, man. They haven't been here before. So what do you think's the right next steps for you? So that's what I've been encouraging people to do, is like, look to your inner mentor. What do you think the next steps are for you? As opposed to going out to experts, which we're all amazing experts. I'm not dismissing that. But I'm also like, we haven't been here either. So what have you checked in with yourself first? As opposed to, listening to other people. Learn to actually come and find out intuitively, what do you think the next step is? Because you're the expert in where you're at right now and where you want to go.
Awesome. It's totally true. Well, I guess my second tip is really around staying in your strengths. So you guys might know I'm obsessed with the Strength Finder, the Clifton Strength Finder. And it's really the idea is that we don't need to be well-rounded. We don't need to be like amazing at everything. Find the 5 things. My theme today is 5, clearly. Find the 5 things that are your strengths that bubble to the top. So we all have 34 strengths in us. We all have the same strengths. They just come in a different order. And 5 will bubble to the top. They're called your top 5 strengths. And so I think for people, I think part of the reason some people don't love their job, like some people don't love Saturday as much as Monday. Like I love Saturday just as much as Monday because I love what I do. And I imagine you guys are the same because we're playing in our strengths. We're doing what we're good at and it makes us feel good and it perform well. But I think some people are in jobs that they said they would do or they've always done, or that's what the university path dictated or their parents advised. And they're not actually happy. Well, guess what? Now you can change. Like now you can repivot towards your strengths. And so some of the strengths, for example, would be empathy or input or ideation or strategy or futuristic or activator or achiever. So these are all just some of the words. But I just wanted to put that out there is like, if you don't know what your strengths are, do your strength test, figure it out and navigate your life so that you're actually using your strengths and life will be easier and way more fun. Sarah Valentine, I'm thinking more consciously about who I spend my money with. Amazing. So she didn't just say money. It's not about the amount. It's about who, which I love that, Sarah. Thank you so much. I think people are thinking a lot more about money, but hopefully also their time and their energy and who they're spending it with and how they're spending it. Any comment on that, you guys, before we go into our third and final round?
Just an interesting point about time and money. So people very often, they know there's a monetary value to money, but they don't value their time the same way. So they'll spend time or waste time or, sure, I'll have a meeting with you, no problem. All these kinds of things. But if you said to them, hey, will you give me $100? They'd be like, what? You want me to give them? No, I'm not going to do it. So we don't really guard our time very often the way we would guard our money. And I think that is something, particularly if you're busy and overwhelmed, have a real look at where to guard your time for those precious things that you really want to do.
I agree. Kate McGregor says, I love that the new normal is remote working or working from home. I've spent years trying to educate and build trust with clients around this instead of virtual assistants. We are now assistants in our relevant fields. All right. Awesome. Let's go.
One quick thing I'll throw in.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to quickly throw in because this a lot of what I'm hearing and what we're talking about reminds me of a question that I've often been asked on other shows. People ask me, what is your definition of happiness or what is your definition of success? And so I ended up giving this a lot of thought, and I came to the conclusion that for me at least, success and happiness is the same definition really, which is the optimized integration of self, right? So what you say, what you think, what you do. Your work, your play, your family, whatever that is, again, going back to what gives your life meaning, what is important to you, and the complete sort of integration of that. I think Richard Branson also had a very good way to look at this, because people have often talked about work-life balance. And he said, is that really for him, it's all life. And it's true that when you talk about work-life balance, it implies that, you have to sort of take from one in order to give to the other. And again, it really just comes down to, I think what we're all saying here is focusing in on your strengths, as Nat said, what gives your life meaning, value, and focus in on that.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to add to that, Julian. I heard a quote recently that the real definition of success is the number of days you were happy. And I really liked it because it had a metric on it. You go, oh, okay, I could count that. And I also felt a little challenged because I think I'm a relatively happy person. I'm just naturally optimistic and I'm working on things I love, so I'm pretty happy. But when it was the number of days that you are happy, it's like, maybe that could use a little work actually. So I mean, my third tip is literally decide to be happy. That's it. That's it. And that might not sound like a tip you can actually work with, but in fact it is a decision. Being happy, it's
a choice.
Absolutely, it's a choice that you make. And there's so much research on how happiness increases productivity. So if you look at Google and all the kind of tech firms who have got ping pong tables and just cool stuff in there to have people be happy because they know it's documented at a 30% increase in productivity if you're happy. So like I actually turned my life the other way around. I do all my fun stuff first, and then I get serious about work when I'm happy in the afternoon sometime, so a little unconventional, but I can tell you that it boosts productivity.
Nice. Get in the zone and then be happy. Hey, I also want to acknowledge, of course, that a lot of people out there watching this are really having a hard time, in lockdown and just the new change of situation. But I'm just hoping that some of what we mentioned today, a little nugget, can stand out and really help move people towards, the life that they want to live. If you didn't see the episode I did with Greg Ward, he talked a little bit about his own depression, and he said, it's the little things like waking up in the morning and then just all I think about is just opening my eyes and then just turning my head and then putting my feet on the floor. And so that was such a great message in that episode, and I'll definitely link through to it. It was one of the earliest episodes we did. Super powerful. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're going to go to the third round. And in the third round, this is a little bit about what's cool about you, which is something that we might not know. What's coming up for you, and how can people get in touch as well? So let's go to you, Cath. What's cool about you? What's coming up? How can we find you?
Well, so what a lot of people know, and some people don't, is I live in what used to be a P lab, methamphetamine. So when we bought it, it was a full-on decontaminated building, and it took 7 months to decontaminate and get all approved and everything. So that's why the project took like 3 years. And I think I learned a lot of resilience in that, and redefined my job and all those kinds of things. And when it came to the lockdown phase, and I thought, awesome, I have a month now to do something other than Netflix. And so what I decided to do was to create an online course, which I'd never done before. So I created a free course called Learn from Lockdown. And the idea was that wherever you're up to, you could dip into this course, and it'd just be really bite-sized pieces. All the videos are like 5 minutes long. You can watch one and then think about it. And there's a little workbook. And I'm really proud of it, particularly because, as I was saying about productivity, during lockdown, I went through a nutritional program, right? And you go through, you take out caffeine 1 week, and then you take out alcohol, and then and by the end, you're eating like a lettuce leaf, right? And so everyone else is eating all their favorite foods in lockdown. And I'm like, man, this is really hard. So I realized mornings were really hard for me. Had to make a green smoothie. It's just like, this is really hard. So I decided that I would do no work until 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
It's like, you're having a hard time, honey. I'm just going to be sweet to you. Get the green stuff out of the way, and then do what you like. And so I walked the dog, and I, hung out with my family. We were playing table tennis. It was just cool. And then by 2 o'clock, I really felt good and vibrant. And so I created this course in the 3 weeks, basically the last 3 weeks of lockdown. And I'm super proud of it. And I've had incredible feedback from people on action that it's allowed them to do. So yeah, I actually feel like that's something that I want to say that's kind of cool.
That is cool. And how can we find you?
So I am at Studio 38 is the P Lab, if you want to look that up. And Cath Vincent.
Oh, and it's an event space that they can hire when they want to have events in person again.
And actually, if you want to come visit, it's really cool because we've got a recording studio in there and a TV studio. And it's just a really fun space where people create stuff, get motivated, run events. It's just a really positive place to be. And we run our own women's speakers group with another professional speaker, Diana Thompson. So that's a really cool thing to do as well. So yeah, Studio 38 is where we are. Come and visit. I'm waiting for your call.
And the Cath Vincent Show, do they find that somewhere else?
Yeah, so the cathvincentshow.com. So we've done 4 seasons now. So we film in my house. So all of downstairs is beautiful commercial space, and upstairs is kind of fun office stuff. And we invite guests in. We have an awesome lunch. We connect people. Nat's been on the show. You should totally check out her interview. And it's just, it's one of those things that got to the top of my to-do list because I applied a different set of criteria. So what would make me happy? I'd quite like to start a TV show.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to Julian. So what's cool about you? Hopefully something I don't already know. And how can we find you online and what's coming up?
Okay. Before I even start that, I just want to quickly say something to what Cath was just talking about, because this is something that I've really come to appreciate in the last year or two or so. I didn't really quite appreciate in my youth how important good life habits are and routine and so forth. We often talk about, let's say, mindfulness or mindset. But the thing about mindset, right, is that it requires willpower. Whereas once you create things that are habits, they require no willpower. And as I said, it's really something that I've only sort of awoken to. It's just like, oh, geez, I really need to focus on these daily habits. And exactly like you say, you get rid of those things that you want to get off your plate in the morning, get through the routine. And once you get used to it, and they say it takes 40 times or something, for you to do something. I think that's a really great point. Mm-hmm. So what don't people know? I think people often know about what I do and that I have a degree in psychology. I don't know that many people know that I'm also a bit of an audio junkie, that I actually have a college certificate in sound design and studio engineering, that I play drums, guitar, sang in a band, created this project called tunehall.com, which was really cool. When I was living in Montreal, we would pull together a new team of musicians once a month. And the idea was to write, record, mix, and post online a new song in 24 hours effort. So you can go and check out tunehall.com and listen to all of the songs that we wrote and recorded in 24 hours effort. Of course, that's all kind of pre-production quality, but nonetheless, I love music, love sound. I think that would be the thing. And
I saw you singing in a video with your son the other day.
That's true. I did just post a video about a song about his teddy bear, Cuddles the pig. So go and check that out. And in terms of where you can find me, so for my agency, it is jdnevins.com or jdnevins.ca. For my YouTube channel and podcast, BIYF Marketing, it's just BIYF.marketing, or you can check that out on YouTube as well. And in connection to my agency, I actually also started a marketing training platform called the Marketing Summit Academy, which is msa-school.com.
And speaking of schools, so you guys are done now in Canada. It's like we're just going to start summer holidays because lockdown straight into summer, no more school.
That's right.
So how many kids do you have around your feet while you're trying to work all summer?
Well, at this point now, I really just have my youngest with me half the time. So it actually works quite well in terms of balancing my time. I get to focus on him when he's with me, and then when he's not, then I get to focus on things that I like to do in my career.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, hopefully I will come and visit sometime. My son this morning was asking me when we were going to Canada, and I was like, good question. All right, Nat T, let's, Julian, Stephanie says, have you listened to the podcast Strong Songs?
I have not, but I will. I'm writing it down and I'm going to check it out for sure.
Check it out for sure. All right, Nat T, let's go to you. What's cool about you?
What's cool about me is that I cooked for the Queen's husband and for Kate Winslet and Mr. Bean, who is Ron Atkinson. And I could go on from a list of celebrities, but so it's pretty cool. So I'm a qualified chef by trade, so perfectionism was drummed into me from a very young age. And now I represent the opposite, because in business isn't a recipe. It doesn't actually come out the other end for the recipe that your mate gave you, aka a sales funnel, the social media highlight reels that tell you in 6 weeks you're going to make 6 figures. It doesn't actually happen like that, but I thought it did. So when I first came into my business, I didn't realize that I was going to be hit with the limiting beliefs, those things not working because the perfect part of me was driving my business. So I really represent for people that you've got to be imperfect about it. And this is what you know about me, Nat, is, coming into my business. I had 2 failed businesses before this epic one. And when I started my epic one right now, a year into it, I woke up one day and this part of my face had paralyzed. My nerves here were attacked with Bell's palsy, and I looked pretty unusual for a very long time. But I was the face of my business. So you know what I did? I jumped on a live video with my face paralyzed, slurring words, and I said, I'm still going because there isn't any perfect. What was I thinking? There's always imperfect. So when someone brings an excuse to me of why they can't, I'm a full representation of, yeah, you can. And what is my new baby is I've put it all in a book. Allergic to Perfect. And also come and join my Facebook group, which is all about being imperfect in business. Because that's the truth.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. I do remember when you posted that video, and you always have embraced everything you say, which is so awesome. Where can we buy the book? Where can we find you online?
Yes, so the reason why I wrote Natalie Tall at the bottom of this is because it's a little bit hard to spell. So if you come to natalietolliff.com, you will, the first thing you'll see is a banner that says buy my book.
Love it. So good. We will, of course, be including the links when I do the show notes. And I already have some of the links in the description, but I'll make sure that we include those. Awesome. So you guys, any final comments before we wrap up? What I'll do is I'll pop you off to the side and I'll let everyone know what else is coming up in terms of the live stream series. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just thanks for inviting me. And, I love that in this time you've stepped up and pulled so many people to help others. So, yeah, I really appreciate you and your effort that you put out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Right back at you. Yeah.
Ditto to that.
Thank you, my beautiful guests. So good to have you guys here. This is one of the things I love. I've got this picture behind me from my Go-To Girl events back in the day. But one of the things I do love is bringing people together, people obviously that can watch this, that can, spark a thought or spark an action. That's my intention. But also bringing my guests together gets me super excited. So thank you for joining me today. It's always interesting to see which combination of people I'm going to bring together. So I'll pop you guys over there and I'll let you guys know what is coming up. So what I'm doing is during lockdown, I actually did 2 live stream panels every week, and it was a Tuesday and a Thursday. So now that we've come into level 2, I'm going to stick with Tuesdays. So I'm going to just channel into doing 1 a week. And I'll tell you some topics we've got coming up. On Tuesday next week, we've got emotions and mindset. And following that, we've got building resilience. Then, of course, I just think of more topics, or I see who's out there and what their niche is, and I create it. So if you've got suggestions, definitely I'm open to those as well. So, what's cool about me? Every episode I share something what's cool about me. And today, this is what I chose. What's cool about me? This is me at my wedding. But what's cool about it is that my wedding dress was actually pre-loved, which means secondhand. So back in the day, even since probably back into high school, I've always loved, you guys know, I'm a bit of an eco geek. So I always love op shopping, and I always love, saving the planet a little bit here and there. And even back at my wedding, I don't know if it's bad luck. Obviously not. We're still married after 20 whatever years or whatever it is. So there you go. That's what's cool about me. And even the shoes, I think I bought them from the newspaper. It was even before Trade Me back in the day. Awesome. So that's what's coming up. That's what's cool about me. And it's been amazing to have you guys here. Natalie Cutler-Welsh with the Up Your Brave live stream. What I do is I help people to amplify their impact, their business, and their wellness. So if you're a business person, you can check out my Amplify program and my memberships. I'll put the link below. And thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, remember to up your brave, say what you want, and make it happen. See you guys.